everybody, welcome back to Oscar Buzz. Trevor here. I'm joined by Sam, and we are talking about Robot Dreams, one of the last Oscar nominees that we saw. It was nominated for Best Animated Feature, and quite deservedly so. It's directed by Pablo Berger, is how I'm going to pronounce the last name. It's no dialogue, and it's about a dog in one of those animated worlds where the dogs are like, or the animals are like people, I guess. And it's
New York City.
It's just a film about loneliness and finding connection with a non-human entity.
Yes. So what this film is saying is that you should use AI.
Yes. So you loved this film. How many times have you seen it?
3.
Okay, yeah. I've just seen it the one, but I'll let you kick off with your thoughts.
It's this really emotional movie. Like, I related really deeply with this movie. Like, just my thing is that it starts off as Before Sunrise and then ends as The Umbrellas of Cherbourg. Like, it's such an amazing experience. Like, it's just so emotional and gravitating, but also so like nuanced and subtle, and you just feel so much of a connection for these two characters. And like by the end of the film, like I was yelling at the screen for one of the characters to do something because I was so invested in the relationship. Like I just felt really emotional by it, and like I was crying by the end, and I really don't cry in a lot of movies at all. So it was just I was really moved by it. I really loved how visual it was. I also loved that it kind of got a little like surreal in aspects and like fed into like the dreamlike sequences a lot. And it was just kind of it was structured but also unstructured. It knew exactly what it wanted to be, but also felt like it was doing something new and meandering when it wanted to be. It was very, very good.
It's really, really emotionally inviting, and I think that comes down to the animation. Everything about the animation is really soft. Like, there's no hard edges. It's all like curved. It's a lot of pastels. It looks almost kind of like watercolor isn't the correct word, but like almost like chalk at points. Like
Well,
it
it kind
feels
of looks like
very
Rick
like
and Morty.
yeah. It feels very, very like childlike in the way that it presents its animation, which I think makes its delves into some heavier themes hit all the more harder, because it really disarms you with how it is animated. And like it's a very like cute movie. Like it's very playful in a lot of sequences, and I do think that does a lot for the emotional disarmament for the third act, and allows it to hit a lot harder, because you really do feel viscerally quite a bit for a lot of these characters.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a movie that kids will really love and enjoy, and adults will sob their eyes out too and feel very emotionally connected to. Like
Sure.
it feels very appealing towards everyone. Like I would show this to my kids and my friends, you know.
The imaginary kids that you don't have.
Well, yeah, obviously. But like and the imaginary friends that I also don't have.
Damn. So back to Robot. um, but yeah, I mean, that is really what the film is about, though. It's about someone who doesn't have any friends or kids or hoes, and
So harsh.
But yeah, so it's supposed to be set kind of in like 80s New York City, and it
Oh my
really
god, it captures that so well.
it really it really like gives a feeling of such isolation, that I'm gonna pull a crazy reference here, News from Home by Chantal Ackerman, and how it
That's
isolates
not a
you with
crazy reference.
it isolates you within the noise and sounds and the scope of the city. And it gives all this imagery and makes this character feel so small, and makes any minor connection with another person feel so valuable and important, because of how distant they are and how kind of unconnected they are from their surroundings. Which, yeah, I think is really, really well captured. And yeah, so he gets this robot to be his friend, and at a certain point they become disconnected, and it becomes about the robot kind of gaining sentience in a way, and not entirely, but it's about the robot's dreams, title, and about the dog, our main character, like trying to cope with you know, being lonely, having this brief feeling of connection, and then being stripped of that once again. And that's where the majority of the film takes place. And it, as you said, it's quite moving. I don't think it necessarily landed every single one of its, like, you know, beats necessarily. It didn't entirely get there in a lot of places for me. But I like it's hard to fault the film in a lot of ways. It knows exactly what it wants to be, and it executes that vision really as perfectly as you can.
Yeah, this movie reminded me of some interesting phenomenon that I've always felt like ever since I can remember, and it's a weird concept, but I just don't know how to explain this. But like when I'm told what day of the week it is, or when I like know what day of the week it is, my mind does something weird where like days feel differently. Like even if I'm doing the same thing on 2 different days, like a Saturday has a weird different feeling, and that comes from emotion than a Sunday does. I don't know how to explain it, but like we always say like, oh, it doesn't feel like a Thursday today, or it doesn't feel like a Friday
Mhm.
today. Like I don't know why, but the second this movie started and I just saw that dog, you know, on his couch making his microwave dinner in his apartment alone, scrolling through the TV channels. I think we've all been there, but in a different way than just like we've all experienced loneliness and disconnect. It's more just like there are specific times in our life that are reoccurring, but we don't think of them as like events or like something to talk about. Like
Mhm.
for me, what that connected me to was like kind of like a Sunday afternoon or like a Sunday evening where like I'm not really doing anything. I'm like nervous because the week is starting and like know that I'm gonna have to get up early the next day or I'm gonna have to do something the next day. And it's like a final moment of like relaxation, but it's like also like nervousness and you feel like loneliness and there's something kind of like deserted and isolated about the feeling and very melancholy.
Right.
And this film captured that so well. Like for an animated film to do that, it's so impressive. Like I felt everything that this movie wanted me to feel at every moment. And for that, like it is one of my favorite films of the year because like for me to feel this deeply when watching a movie is really hard. Like I think I understand a lot more movies than I feel. Like
Right.
and like I don't, as I said, I don't cry in a lot of movies, like very, very rarely. Like I'd say like once every few months I cry in a
Mhm.
movie. And I know people who like cry in everything that they
Me.
watch. Yeah. And or like they cry in like kids movies that they watch, like even stuff like that, because they're like get emotionally invested
Jack
in things.
crying at Dungeons and Dragons.
They get emotionally invested in things easier than I do. But this movie, like for some reason, like it did something right where it just landed with me in that way. And that's why I praise it so much and I've seen it so many times because it was just so special.
Yeah, something that you described. I think we spend so much of our life doing things that we would describe as nothing. Like if somebody asks, like, "Oh, what were you doing?" "Oh, nothing."
Right. But it's
We
not
spend
nothing. Never nothing.
Right. It's never nothing because by the act of doing it, it is something. But it is something so insignificant that we don't even feel the need to describe or articulate that we have done said thing.
Mm. Or it is societally perceived as insignificant.
Right.
It's
And this
all
film really likes to exist at the beginning in those spaces of nothing. And I think we're at places, without spoilers really, because the film isn't out, but we're at places the robot character is in that nothing space. And I think when you are placed in a nothing space, that's where your mind begins to go. And that's where it develops this idea of robot dreams. The titular idea of the film, kind of exploring that nothingness, and it kind of begins to put these characters in juxtaposing positions as they were at the beginning, which I think is quite interesting, in the way that it kind of develops their relationship through that juxtaposition.
The film also does an excellent job at paying homage to classic filmmaking tropes and Hollywood
Hmm.
styles. Like as I mentioned, like the first part before sunrise, the end part, like Umbrellas of Cherbourg. More than just that, like there are references to the Wizard of Oz in this movie. There's
Yeah.
references to, I forgot his name, but you know when the first movie musical was created in the 1920s, there was this for like almost a decade, over a decade, like there was this type of film that would have like mass Broadway audiences and like the
Yeah,
Follies
like
and
the
all
Hollywood
these people
Review
would
is,
dance
yeah.
and movement to create like symbols. And like this movie pays homage to all of those classic Hollywood tropes, but not in a like they don't make them like this anymore or like a I miss this like phase of Hollywood. It's really in a way that's like that's how these characters feel. Like that's the references in pop culture that these characters connect with, and like we're going to use those tropes to like
Yeah.
detail elements of the story, but never rely on it and never like think it's that. It was really well done.
Well, it's also the idea of us processing or beginning to process our thoughts through the lens of the media that we consume, which I think is particularly relevant for when there is a lot of lack of like human connection, is we begin to perceive things by whether it be media or a product or whatever, by the things that we are consuming and watching, buying, seeing, right? And that's how we begin to process our life, which can eventually get very, very impersonal, I think, to where you're trying to kind of vicariously articulate and perceive your life through the lens of another.
Yeah,
So yeah.
it's a really beautiful story. It also has really, really intricate and detailed sound work,
Mm-hmm.
and the music, the score is really good.
Yeah, I
And
mean the use of the Earth, Wind, and Fire, the 21st Century. Yeah,
yeah,
like just excellent. I mean, like that song is also special for me because that's my birthday, September 21st. So that's always had a connection with me, and this really it uses it in such a, I think, special way. There's particular scene at the end which is just fantastic. In the way that it brings the song back. So yeah, no, I mean it's just there's just a lot to love of it. It has such a nice rhythm to it. Like it's not even just like a pace. There's a rhythm to the film. In the way that the animation flows almost feels like music at times. And just has like this like bumping nature to it. To move the narrative along. I think the choice of no dialogue is really like profound in a way. In the way that it connects with the themes. No, I mean there's just a lot to love. Like again, I can't say anybody really hating this film or disliking this film.
it's hard. It seems hard to dislike.
So yeah, no, just a lot to love as a whole. As I said, like there were bits where it did feel a bit too obvious, or like it didn't necessarily reach the thematic depths that I entirely want to from it. But again, like there's still so much to love that I don't even really care.
I also don't know if you connected with it as emotionally as I did. Like,
Probably.
yeah,
Like, which is just going to be a hyper subjective thing,
right.
how much we each emotionally connect. But no. What are you feeling for a rating?
10.
All right. And this is number 2 for you on the year? No?
Yeah, it's my second favorite movie of the year. Like,
This one, right?
it means a lot to me.
Yeah. No. I'm sitting at probably a strong 8 on this one. So yeah, no.
My choice to win Best Animated Feature at the Oscars.
Fair. Yeah. I don't know. I think I have it slightly behind Spider-Verse and Blend the Heron, but like they're all so fantastic. So
It's
yeah.
a good lineup this year.
It's quite a good lineup. But yeah, those are our thoughts on Robot Dreams. Definitely go watch it when it comes out and you are able to. When it does ever come out. But yeah, no. Great movie. And yeah, go see it. But thank you everybody for watching this and our thoughts. And until next time, you can watch other stuff that we have, I guess, if you want. We just did our top 10 films of the year, which is fun. So you can go watch that. But until next time, thank you for watching. Stay safe and goodbye.